Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast, Taking Care of Business today with Franco Terrazzano, who is federal director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Thanks, Franco, for joining us today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Tell you what's not a pleasure is hearing a report that you guys put out today where how much it's going to cost Canadians with the second carbon tax. Explain what it is going to cost us.
Yeah, folks, get this. So we all know the carbon tax in place now, right? We feel it every time we go to the pumps. We feel it whenever we look at that heating bill, especially during those winter months out there in Alberta. But what you might not know is that the Trudeau government is getting ready to impose a second carbon tax through fuel regulations. It's kicking in July 1. It'll be the requirements will be fully in place come 2030. And by that time, it will cost the average Alberta family more than $1,100 in 2030. Okay. So the second carbon tax will cost the average Alberta family more than $1,100 in 2030. There are no rebates with the second carbon tax. And this is in addition to the current carbon tax that's already in place.
So I just wanted to backtrack for a second here, Franco. Now I know in your report you looked at the average across the country, and I think BC was the lowest, right?
That's correct. Yeah, BC was about $384. So it would cost the average family in BC about $384. So why there's differences by provinces is essentially two reasons. One can be what type of energy sources you use, right? And the other thing is how your economy will be impacted by the second carbon tax, right? I think most of your listeners, viewers, your audience will understand and appreciate that a second carbon tax will hurt Albertans quite a bit just based on the economy that Alberta has.
So yeah, exactly. And I see that in your report that both Alberta and Saskatchewan lead the way in terms of the impact. So let's talk about the impact on consumer of continuing continuing taking away of their disposable income.
Oh, it's going to hammer consumers. When you go to the pumps, you're going to get hammered, right? The carbon tax in place is going to continue to go up through 2030, and it's going to continue to increase the price of gas, increase your home heating bill. But then let's not forget, right? Like who else relies on diesel or gasoline? Truckers, farmers. So what does that mean? When you increase costs for farmers to produce the food, you increase the price when families go to the grocery store. When you increase the cost for truckers to deliver the food, you increase the price that family pay at the store. But Mario, I just want to remind the audience that this will be two carbon taxes. Okay, so let's look at 2030. I almost can't believe the numbers. That's why I'm looking down here. By 2030, by 2030, Trudeau's two carbon taxes will cost the average family in Alberta $3,900. $3,900 in 2030. Average family. We're not talking about the wealthiest family. We're talking about the average family, $3,900. That's an annual cost, and that already considers the rebate on the first carbon tax.
So, talk about, you touched a little bit on this, but talk about the trickle-down effect this has on the whole economy, right? When I'm getting hit by in the pocketbook and I don't have as much disposable income as I had a year ago, I ain't going to be spending much in stores anymore, am I not?
No, and that hurts the small business right across the street, right? That hurts the restaurant owner. That hurts the gym owner. That hurts advocacy groups, right? Because if you have less money in your pocket, that means you might not have as much money to go out on a date night with your significant other. Maybe it means you only go to the gym 10 times a month rather than 5 times every week. Right? Maybe it means now the business who has to pay a higher natural gas bill, maybe it means because they have less money to hire another worker.
Yeah. So
right? There really is a trickle-out effect because of all this.
So not to be fear-mongering, but I'm going to fear-monger anyways. The impact of this, can you foresee, just A lot of people just can't do it anymore. A lot of businesses just can't do it anymore. A lot of insolvencies and bankruptcies coming, both personal and business wise.
Mario, I have no idea how people are going to be able to pay for this. Whether it's bad times or good times, even $3,900 in 1 year in 2030 will be the cost to the average family in Alberta. $3,900, like that's a ton of money.
Yeah.
And like I know so many people are struggling right now, right? We just went through a couple years of pandemic in Alberta. You guys have been really struggling since like the end of 2014, right? Then a pandemic hit. Now it's high inflation, maybe a recession around the corner. But even if like 2030 is back to the boom times, even if, how are you going to afford an extra $3,900 hit to your family?
Yeah.
Like that is a significant amount of money. That's literally thousands of dollars. But can I just make one more point here? Two more points, but they tie in together. When we overtax our business community, that either drives businesses away or it discourages businesses from coming to Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's another hit to the economy there, but think about the hit to the environment, because if we tax away our businesses, where are those businesses going to go? They're going to go to other countries.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't even know what type of impact this will really have on the environment. In fact, the parliamentary budget officer made a point of saying, hey, you can tax Canadians to death, and it's still not going to do anything for the global environment because we make up such a small portion of global GHG emissions.
Yeah. Now, Franco, obviously you guys are calling for the government to scrap this. Highly unlikely they're going to do that, right?
Well, that depends, right? It depends how much pressure they get from their constituents. But we're going to keep banging the drum. And eventually, we do believe that a government will definitely scrap the second carbon tax and scrap the carbon tax. So we're going to keep banging the drum. I think, I don't know about you, but it seems to me that people are really even talking about the inflation, about the high price of everything, right? So it seems like this is a lot of people are paying attention right now because people are hurting. And I don't think they're going to have much tolerance for these higher prices strictly because of the government.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks very much, Franco, for joining us today.
My pleasure. Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, that was Franco Terrazzano, Federal Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Managing Editor of Canada's podcast, Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us today.